You're listening to the Blues and Arts Hour on 103.9 WYAB, brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi and Small Town Music. I'm Chris Davis, your host. The Delta is a place where things happen in a rather easy and deliberate manner. Some people might even use the word slow to describe the lifestyle in that flatland of cotton fields, bright orange and fiery sunrises, and drawn-out mosquito sunsets. For the past century or so, music has been its trademark. From one of the river cities, Greenville, Will Coppage hails. Making his living these days by trading a brand of Delta entertainment that draws from blues, of course, storytelling, the oral tradition, boogie-woogie, a robust acoustic sound, and even from the land and the river itself.
Well, take me down to the river, won't you cover me with mud? If I'm in faith, I can be satisfied. If I'm in the girl, I can trust. I live out count on my way to the fall. I buried a man for hitting my mom. Well, proud of my deep high call for hope. Till the judge told the sheriff to get that rope. Lord, take me down to the river. Won't you cover me with mud? Yeah, find me a place that I can be satisfied. Find me a girl I can trust. All right, now.
In fact, his first story here on the Blues and Arts Hour is of and by the river, and how the Mississippi is helping Mississippians make money, and at the same time tell our story, and the story of Delta folk, when the cruise line brings in a boatload.
Well, we have the Mississippi Queen and the American Queen, and then Viking. So we have three cruise lines that come through, but Viking is very, very modern looking ships, where the other ones are like old riverboat looking ships. Yeah. And so now that it's back in season, up to 2 times a week they come, and it's 300 guests, and they get bused over to E. Bass, which is an old high school, but it's where our White Council is downtown. Yes. And we meet them when they get off the bus with Bloody Marys and iced tea or sweet tea. Of course, they're always asking, "Do you have unsweet?" We're like, no unsweet tea. And and then like Terry Bean harmonicas playing when they walk in, and then David Cruz does all the food. So it's like we bring out a hot tamale course, and Ann Martin, who's one of the hot tamales, kind of talks about hot tamales and why they're prevalent in the Delta and why Greenville's the hot tamale capital of the world. And then it used to be Hank Burdine. Now it's his son, Matthew Burdine, when he can, just kind of a storyteller of the area. And he'll do like the Holt Collier story. And then Steve Azar and his band plays about an hour set. And it's like, smoke machines, light show. It's huge. And then like fried catfish and all this other food. And then they can go and tour the galleries and hopefully spend a little money.
Then I found my gal down in Hollandale. She had a grin. Yeah, that's when I knew, she wasn't true. My girl turned me in. Hell, the sheriff called out, we had that body shout. I wanted to shoot to kill. Well, he don't know that I'm the son of a bitch, and I can shoot with a hit. Yes, I can shoot with a hit. So take me down to the river and cover me with mud.
When I was listening to some of your music, first thing I noticed was that you, as a solo artist, as a solo acoustic artist, have a kind of a percussive way that you play. Because you're being the drum set, you're being the bass, and you're being the guitar all at the same time. So I'm hearing some percussion and some really a strong rhythm in addition to the lead lines. And I'm just wondering, do you classify that as an offshoot of Delta music? I mean, it's not exactly blues. It's not exactly boogie woogie.
Right. It's so funny. So what I've started doing is calling it y'all music. Folk music was started or coined because it was music for all the folk or all the common folk. And so when people would say kind of those comments to me, like you're saying now, and ask like, where's your influences? And finally, I was like, it's music for all y'all. And I was like, wait a minute, y'all music. So a lot of my branding and logos and merch has a y'all music logo. And when I say y'all music is, I mean, to me, I call it roots music. But when I say roots music, a lot of people don't know really what that means. And for me, it's kind of that synergy. And you really kind of saw it in the early 1900s. And then again, you saw it in like the 1950s with like Carl Perkins, where like Elvis. So I guess what I'm saying is when there is this kind of mesh or overlay of songs and themes and lyrics that might be found, let's say, in Delta blues or an old jug band song, but also, if you went out to North Carolina or Kentucky, you would hear some of the same lyrics and kind of the same motif of that song, but it's done more flat picking. And so I really find it interesting, those types of songs. And so that kind of what kind of cultivated my style. Obviously, I'm from Greenville, Mississippi, Mississippi Delta. So blues, Delta blues, and multiple forms of blues genre are very influential on me. But I also lived in North Carolina for about 10 years, let's say, after I left the military, got out in the military in 2001, and moved out there and started a band, brought another Mississippi musician out there, and we started as a duo called Willie and Me. And again, it's so funny what you just said, that we had so many people come up to us going, I've never heard acoustic musicians making people dance. And that was our whole goal. We feel like if you can't bob your head, dance, or stomp your foot, then, if we can't do it, then why would our listeners do it? And so that was always kind of catch. And then we formed a full band, and we did touring, like I said, about 8 years did that, say, on the road. And so all of that, I guess, coming back now, I'm 45 now. And when I started really honing in on crafting songs, I could hear these kind of, like I said, those old motifs that I really appreciated. But I wanted to figure out a way to, I don't want to say rewrite them, but the same way that maybe I heard, like Jerry Garcia, who was, obviously Grateful Dead, but, he was also Old and the Way, a bluegrass band. He was also Mother McCree's Uptown Jug Champions. And so, like, when I was, 15, 16, hearing those kind of things, and so they would call it just like the roots music or Americana. But that's kind of how I molded together. So what I say is that y'all music, I guess the short answer, y'all music is a mix of Delta blues, kind of old-timey honky-tonk mixed with some Appalachian stomp and flat picking is how I kind of categorize my music. And I'm really thankful because it does get people dancing. And like you said, there's a percussiveness to it.
I left 2 men in hay grave. If I had to fly my old woman, I got a book with her name. So why don't you take me?
Coming up, you'll get a better sampling of how y'all music tells the story of the people of the Mississippi Delta and get you dancing at the same time.
Girl, I can trust. I said, take me down to the river. Yes, cover me with mud. Then find me a place I can be satisfied. Find me a girl I can trust. Girl I can trust.
You're listening to the Blues and Arts Hour on 103.9 WYAB. You're listening to the Blues and Arts Hour on 103.9 WYAB. I'm your host, Chris Davis. The Blues and Arts Hour is brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi and Small Town Music. And this week's guest is Will Coppage, or William Lusk Coppage. And he's been telling you about a brand of music that he plays called y'all music. It's a kind of a mix of Mississippi Delta blues and singer-songwriter type roots music. Now he talks about a common goal that both he and I have, and that is to never be boring. And coming up in just a couple of minutes, a special performance by Will Coppage right here on the Blues and Arts Hour.
I would say the hard part for me is with that, or with knowing what my style is, if you have not been able to hear me yet, and particularly like when I'm trying to book new venues and new regions that I haven't been at, if you just say, hey, I'm a singer-songwriter, I think that it could have some, I don't want to say negative connotations, but just kind of low energy, more emotional impact. And then when they finally can hear me or see me live, they're like, oh, I get it. When you say you're high energy, you are high energy. You want people to move around and dance. And I'm like, yeah. And, I just, at some point I wanted to make my songs more interesting. So I started trying to do all those kind of runs that you hear blues musicians do between the measures, as well as you hear like flat pickers like Doc Watson or Tony Rice do between, going into chords and stuff like that. And, it just kind of worked, or at least it's working right now.
Well, you are playing a lot of places right now. I mean, I've taken a look at your website and looked at that schedule. It keeps you busy. Is that what you do full time? Yeah,
full time, traveling musician. I also am very lucky that I have, a fascination with visual art, such as painting. I love watercolor. As well as I have a little woodwork shop. So my main focus is staying on the road, trying to make myself look more and more professional with my music. But on the flip side, particularly when I'm at home, with all of the other things, just to relax, like the painting and the woodwork, I also, there's a small market there, with pop-up shops around the holidays, and as I mentioned, the tourists from the riverboats that come to the Delta. So there, those little other outlets. But yeah, full time, full focus, and loving it really. It was a decision that my wife and I, because she met me when I was touring back in the early 2000s, and we got married in 2009. And she could see that I kind of had that itch or that look in my eye, and she's like, "You need to get back on the road." And it was just kind of perfect timing with where we are in our life. We're able to plan things out as a family. And, my goal is to do 100 shows this year. And, maybe I'll hit it, maybe I won't. But, you got to have those goals. So that's why I'm really pushing myself this year to do 100 shows.
And now a Delta family gets some props in one of Will Coppage's tunes. And you'll find out that they've served the Mississippi Delta in two ways. What role does the Delta landscape play in your music?
Well, I mean, I think that's one thing that is totally apparent in my canon of songs. I'm kind of building a narrative or a landscape. I should say this also. I was very lucky. I have a BFA and an MFA in creative writing. I went to undergrad at University of North Carolina, Wilmington, and then I went to graduate school in Lake Charles at McNeese. And having a master's of fine arts or a bachelor's of fine arts, that was 7 years total of workshop experience, being in a workshop every day, and being peer reviewed. And you write, or at least the way I see it, you show don't tell. You write in images. And, and so living in the Delta, being from the Delta, all the stories of the people in the Delta, I mean, everybody's got a story. In my backyard where I live, I can see the levee, Lake Ferguson. It's on the other side, which is Knoxville off the river. I'm on the 2nd Street off the highway, but if I was on the highway, I could see Winterville Mounds, which is one of the larger indigenous people mound sites in Mississippi. And so you can't help but to write the Delta. And it's funny you brought up Towboat Boogie. That one was written specifically for a person. It was written for Howard Brent, his family, the Brents. You have Eden Brent, amazing boogie woogie piano player. You have Bronwyn Brent, the youngest daughter, who is an amazing singer-songwriter that lives in Bay St. Louis. You have Jessica Brent, who, while she doesn't tour, she performs, and she's amazing. But the father, Howard, had Brent Towing, and they built towboats and everything. And I just thought it was time for him to have a song written for him that highlighted that. I do feel like the old songsters of, let's say, the early 20th century, when they come in town and they're singing these songs, they have catchy hooks and kind of jingles and melodies. And so I believe that I do well in infusing those things, as well as when I'm writing my songs. I'll mention cities and towns of Mississippi and stuff, and always will get a big draw. So trying to do those things to kind of keep people's, kind of become an earworm, I guess, for people. You do the towboat boogie. You do the towboat boogie.
You've got the Blues and Arts Hour on 103.9 WYAB. You're listening to the Blues and Arts Hour on 103.9 WYAB, brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi and Small Town Music. Will Coppage is a son of the Delta, writing songs about towboats and outlaws, Delta life, and Delta feeling. He's this week's guest on the Blues and Arts Hour. A few minutes ago, he said that he is now making a living as a musician. I know a lot of people who want to be full-time musicians. It's what a lot of singer-songwriters want to do. and it's what a lot of cover musicians want to do, but it's a want to do for a lot of people. So I got to ask you, and maybe this gets a little bit personal, but
Yeah.
how tough is it trying to make it as a full-time musician? And maybe one, and I don't know if you've got a recording contract, but I'm assuming at this point that you are in the market, but maybe don't have one yet. How tough is it to actually make it as a full-time musician?
That's a great question, and I love. I do have the opportunity and the privilege to get to speak sometimes to large audiences about creativity or community development and stuff like that. And I always talk about you got to set your goals. And so when I get to mentor young musicians, when they say I can't wait to make it, I always ask them, I say, what do you mean by making it? Because if you don't define what making it means, then you'll never know when to stop, or that if you hit some great milestones, you might still feel that emptiness because you have not been you have not set forth or set what those benchmarks are going to be. So in saying all of that, the main thing is in October of 2022, I stepped down. I was with our county's economic alliance. I was over it, and I was traveling a lot. I had to live with the phone next to me, and I have an 8-year-old daughter, and our goal in life always, my wife and I, she's my best friend. We waited later in life to have kids, or one daughter. And so our goal, or my goal in music, or saying, how are you going to make it, or are you going to make it, or what's your definition of making it? It's just to have the freedom to be with the family. And I can tell you right now, even I feel like a rock star, because that is exactly what my wife and I and my daughter, we get to spend time together where we didn't used to. Even though I'm on the road a lot, which as you mentioned, when I'm not on the road, I'm able to give full attention to them. And so when you're saying, I think the question was, how hard do you see it is making it. I do feel like I already have made it. Now, as I mentioned earlier, trying to do 100 shows. So with that, we can understand, let's say, more of a financial landscape for future years. And so, there's always, you got to take care of the family. So financials do, propose sometimes hurdles. But, I think with smart business planning and smart gig work, you can see out on that calendar, I am on the road a lot, but I try to build my runs. So, I'm not driving too far to the next show. And again, that model's just worked for me. As far as recording, or let's say a record deal or something, I don't think, never really in my mind, except for when I was, again, with my first band in the 2000s, that idea of like getting a contract and then, keep hustling and possibly like an overnight success. I'm not saying that doesn't exist now at all, but because of the way the musical landscape has changed, now more people release singles than albums. The way A&R companies are looking at social media engagement, there's so many new factors. And so the idea of going for that record deal, I wouldn't say that's not like a huge benchmark. What a benchmark for me is more, this year I am hoping to complete a full-length album through the kind of production of singles. Every couple months release a new single, kind of do a waterfall effect. And you can turn those to an EP and re-release them, and then you keep on doing that and you re-release till you get a full album. And I'm totally fine with doing that as an independent musician.
And now some thoughts on the Mississippi Brain Drain and another tune by Will Coppage.
One song's called, Coming Home Sick. And I bring up said, October the fields are barren and they're cut down by man and his machine. For 35 years I thought nothing here, but now I know, Mama, it was me. And that right there again, what we look out and see, especially growing up, and that was written from kind of a youthful point of view, a youthful ignorance, and that's what it's all about. Is that, think about all the kids growing up now, particularly in Mississippi, that are just like, oh, I can't wait to leave as soon as I, graduate or this or that. And then you do that. And I'm for that because that's how you get experiences. But I feel really lucky that I was able to come back after getting those experiences. And then luckily I have the tool of songwriting to kind of share those.
As you heard just a few minutes ago, Will Coppage is actually working on composing and releasing an album this year. The songs that you're hearing on today's show were actually recorded live over a few months' time in 2024. Coming up, 100 shows to go, and maybe you can go. You're listening to the Blues and Arts Hour on 103.9 WYAB. You've got the Blues and Arts Hour on 103.9 WYAB, brought to you each week by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi and Small Town Music. I'm Chris Davis, your host, and the guest this week is Will Coppage. Since you're playing, your goal is to play 100 shows a year, and you've got a lot of familiar venues booked on that are on your website, on your schedule. What are your favorite places to play?
Oh, goodness gracious.
Maybe favorite kinds of places to play.
Yeah, so I'll say Mississippi, to me, and I'm not saying it's because of the densities of of rural, or let's say the sparseness of population, just being so rural. But the great thing about Mississippi is that if I wanted to go have dinner tonight in Indianola, I mean, it's, 30 miles away, 30 minutes. It's not like a big city. And so, if you take that into consideration, I think that's how a lot of folks, at least I know in the Delta, are. And I would say that pretty much across Mississippi. It's not how far something is in miles, minutes. And so because of that, people are willing to drive, up to 45 minutes for a good meal. And why I bring that up is a lot of the venues that we are seeing today in the I'd say in the acoustic world are more like restaurants, that have like excellent restaurants, not just like bar and grills, but that have realized there's a gap in live music and started booking performers. And so I'm very appreciative of that. I will say, like, one place that I'm just amazed by the ownership, and it's kind of local. It's in Washington County, but Roy's Store and Cabins is on Lake Washington. And for those that don't know, Lake Washington's like one of those places that they have the Crappie Master and the Bass Master tournaments and everything. But the owner, Ricky Jones, we're same age, and he's like, man, I really want to make something great for people I want to make a destination. And so I kind of helped him get a bunch of names for musicians. And, he has just really turned Roy's into just, the musical lineup you get are these amazing songwriters and performers. And then I'll say, I really love last time I played at Grill and Grocery in Harrisburg. They really have a focus on live original music, as well as in Monticello, Mississippi, Riverbend House of Brews. I mean, those are some of the greatest people. And I've felt really lucky. The places that I've fallen into, everybody has been, whether it's a restaurant type setting or, a true venue that, with stage and everything. I've just had the greatest luck this past year as far as people being present and so engaged and interactive with my music that that part has been really overwhelming. Booking is always a hurdle for anybody. I mean, even if you're a promoter and you're in that, booking business. And so it is always kind of hard to get in the door. I do think a lot of communities, we all want to take care of our local musicians. And so kind of trying to get into a new community that you hadn't been in is sometimes a hurdle to, like, who's the right person to talk to at this venue, or the venue might be a little leery of bringing more folks in just because, again, they want to, really focus on their local musicians. But, that's understandable too. And that's another part of the business, whether good or bad. And I appreciate that. And, that was why, for myself, around October of last year, when my wife and I talked about getting back on the road again, it was, if I wanted to do what I want to do and put on the show that I want to put on, meaning, how you brought up, just high energy, get the audience involved, get people moving. I knew that I had to look out of my kind of current region or community. And, so that goes back again, to what are your desires as a musician, and I just know that performing is performing's mine, that's when I'm, the illusion of control, I guess, performing. So many things can still go wrong, but me wanting to perform, or any artist wanting to perform, if those venues don't exist locally or wherever, then you gotta, search out for it. It's kind of like looking for an oxygen bottle. If you were in an enclosed space and running out of oxygen, you got to find where you go to breathe. And that's kind of how I feel.
Mississippi River floods play such a big part in Delta music and in Delta music history, and it's no different with Will Coppage.
Well, the levee still hold, but take the kids to mom. Yeah, sandbags won't save us in person anymore. Yeah, forget all the dishes, but grab those photographs, and soon we'll need memories of the good times in life. Well, if there's a heaven, it'll be around. My hell is high water and it's bringing me down. Well, the river's an angel, it's flowing from hell, and the devil's all around us from what I can tell. Well, another foot of water, yes, another storm cloud. I feel as if I'm drowning all alone in this town. Well, if there's a heaven, it's made around. My hell is high water and it's bringing me down. The rollers keep rolling from house to farm. We can't save the livestock, their grave is born. Well, we might never make it, we might all lose this town. My head is high water and it's bringing me down. The last time I saw you, you waved me goodbye. And I promised you, my love, that I wouldn't die. When that wind broke, yeah, the water through the trees, and the river pulled me under till I couldn't breathe. Well, if there's a heaven, it ain't around. My head is high water and it's bringing me down. Well, the rollers keep rolling from house to farm. We can't save the livestock, their grave is born. Well, we might never make it, we might never find. My head is high water and it's bringing me down. My head is high water and it's bringing me down. Yeah, that's the first thing. Yeah, thank y'all. That song was actually written for my dad. He lives on the lake right there off the Mississippi River, and like 2011, 2013, and then all those years in between, it's always house is getting destroyed or messed up. It's like 26 feet in the air now, but
Will, where can people go if they want to hear this music?
I mean, the easiest place, obviously, we'll say like the website, WilliamLusCoppage.com, on all social media channels and YouTube. So TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. It's all the handle or the account is under the Mississippi Mindset, one word. And that's usually the easiest way. I'm very happy I was able to get the same little account name across all handles or all platforms.
The Blues and Arts Hour is brought to you each week by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi and Small Town Music on 103.9 WYAB. Be sure to tune in next week. I'm Chris Davis.